Thanks for joining us. Songhua versus Junsu. Songhwa's hand looks like Junsu's got a keeper. It's got a 3-ball and a temple and a thought knot, and or maybe that's an Ulama. I'm not sure. There's a Vesuva in there. There's a bunch of lands, 3-ball, and maybe an Eldrazi or two. Songhua threw back a hand that was lands, sword, sword. He knows exactly what Junsu's on, by the way. And I think, like I've said in other matches, this is going to revolve around True Name Nemesis almost entirely. So he needs to get down a really fast clock. He needs to counter the relevant things that Junsu does, not get taken out by Thought Knot into Reality Smasher. And if it gets to the late game, then things like Ugin, basically everything in Junsu's deck requires a Force of Will. There's an Ancient Tomb, so this will allow Junsu to deploy. I thought he was going for Thought Knot first, but this is quite good here. This means that in order to keep up Force of Will for what's coming up next, Songhua actually cannot cast any spells this turn and just represent 3 mana. But here's that all-important True Name. This is exactly what he needs to be doing. I feel like these fair blue decks, when they basically just they sit back against the Eldrazi or the post decks and try to wait for things to happen and counter them, then they lose like in the mid game when you simply cannot answer what the opponent is doing. Like everything in Junsu's deck is either mana or something that requires a Force of Will, and you just can't keep up. Vesuva targeting Ancient Tomb. All right. So this could get really costly here. Songhwa's hand really doesn't have a lot going for it. The pick of True Name Nemesis was really easy. And that is a great draw. That's going to allow True Name to keep getting frisky here, and now he's got a real race. I really like the Deathblade player's position here. I think that Junsu has to attack into this Baleful Strix, but whether he casts Thought Knot first or not is the question. I guess it doesn't really matter because with a 3-ball out there, there's no way that his opponent can counter whatever he does. Glimmerpost gains 1 life. Ancient Tomb Vesuva thing loses 2, and he wants to take a look here. I have to imagine, I guess he just takes Force of Will and starts crashing in as fast as he can. Unfortunately, the True Name is going to put the brakes on whatever Thought Knot remains after 1 trades with a Strix. This is uncomfortable, though. Oh, he refuses to attack. So I'm not completely sure what Junsu's plan against True Names are. I mean, does it have to be... He's trying to just resolve Ugin and smash in. Yeah, that's a good plan. How much is... He's got it, right? Heyo. Yep. I gotta be honest, I didn't see that coming together, but there's no way to beat that. So the timely second Thought Knot there, stripping the hand of Force of Will, making sure that everything was clear, and Ugin is just completely unbeatable. So I'll skip forward a little bit. We got a nice 4-minute game there, and we got a Deathblade player on the play with a pair of Force of Wills, but it doesn't really seem like he's got much action. One Surgical, which is an interesting measure to bring in, I guess, if he wants to counter one important spell and strip the library of the rest of it, but I don't think that that's a very good plan, really. Forces the Chalice, which indicates to me that he doesn't really have very many disenchant effects, because he didn't even think about it. Alright, so he is electing to check the hand just to make sure he knows what's going on. Ugin and some mana. And he's going to remove chalices. I feel like Sangha should be the one checking the library. He's like, yeah, check this out. He doesn't even bother to look at it. That's really interesting to me. That is crazy. Your opponent hands you his deck and he just starts shuffling it. Interesting.
이거 리저브드냐? 네, 그래서 비싼 거구나. 나 왜 이렇게 가격 올랐길래 뭔가 했어.
I'm so confused right now.
가격이 이렇게 올랐구나.
Wow, man.
메탈워커도 리저브드야? 아 그래? 아이씨. 뭐 물어봤던 거야? 할게. 네? 오케이.
Turn 2 Stoneforge. And I guess we get Batterskull. I don't see really any way around it. Alright. So Sangha is low on resources and is a game down. And I think that was a draw of Warping Whale, so he's going to leave that up. These Wastelands are quite good. That is really good. And he's thinking about the temple or not. Yeah. It's got to be the temple in upkeep. And he's done it. This is this is a little brutal. The Surgical checks the hand, makes sure he knows what's going on, and that gives him perfect information to fire off the Wasteland, which, I mean, he was going to anyway. And now Batterskull is going to take over this game. Hi-yo. Well, these two games were not close. Target you. Draw a card. That was a little bad.
Good. Council's judgment. I hate it ranking.
The Batterskull is not afraid. I don't see what Junsu can do to get out of this now, because he simply can't come up with enough mana fast enough to play something relevant. Oh, and Sangha reveals that he... Sorry, did I miss the card he fetched? I guess I must have. It seemed to me like he shuffled and didn't present any card. Yeah, and that'll be a scooper. Was I wrong about... Did he have an equipment in his hand? I don't know. I think it's reasonable to not have very much equipment in this matchup. And he just played a Stoneforge as a chump block.
에이, 누가 이렇게 해? 너 이렇게 매직하는 거 누가 가르쳐줬어? 나 제일 싫어하는 건데.
All right, so BigEldrazi on the play again. He's going to be looking for fast. All right, that's good. So opening Cloud Post seems a little weak, but this is one of the fastest ways that the deck can get off on the right foot. If they don't feel pressured in a matchup like this, Cloud Post Go for a while into like Monoliths is totally fine. They're eventually going to have a bunch of uncounterable Eldrazi's. Single fetch land.
적을게. 네.
There is a disenchant. It's a little awkward, but I think we name Polluted Delta anyway, and it gives us some time. In fact, I don't even think it's awkward. I think it's pretty nice.
마라소스가 아닌 것만 봐봐. 고통받는 게
Rips a land off the top, which would allow him to cast.
슛에서 고통받는데 사실 잘 안 굴리는 편이야.
It would have allowed him to cast Disenchant or whatever, but instead he's going to think about whether he even needs the Delta.
맞지?
네.
There was an opportunity there to simply find a different land, put Polluted Delta down there, and then fetch with a Flooded Strand or whatever. But the Wasteland play there is pretty straightforward because we don't need to be worried about our mana development on this side as long as we're slowing them down. He has not seen the hand, but Junsu is actually stuck now on City of Traders, which he doesn't really want to play, but it has to. This is just going to get him Basalt Monolith here. Yeah. Sorry, did I say Basalt? Is it Grim? Yeah. Play the... Oh.
아이, 너무
What?
욕 나온다 좀.
And he's going to waste the Cloud Post. Waste the Cloud Post. Quickly. Waste it now. That's disgusting. I can't believe it.
세상 같은 게 다 웨이스트 그거예요. 핸드가
He's in a lot of trouble now. Sangha also has access to 2 mana again without the Flooded Strand to disenchant the Spyglass if he really needs to. But now I'm thinking like that disenchant should just hit in the Monolith.
그 덱이구나.
There's something to be said though. I mean, he is keeping even on land, but he doesn't have a beautiful threat that's ending the game yet. So just wasting a post player repeatedly is good. It keeps you from losing, but he's not actually winning right now.
하세요.
Yeah, I agree with that. He didn't have to play a land there. He can be better informed next turn with his draw.
근데 이건
근데 그거는 쉽지
아니,
않은 것
아니
같은데.
근데 그거는 상화가 자기가 되게 2장밖에 안 나왔다고 얘기를 했으니까 그런 식이지.
그치.
원래 몰랐으면 무조건 그렇잖아.
Thoughtseize reveals, is that all his dust?
하세요.
And an Ugin. Takes the Ugin. I mean, did he not have that Polluted Delta in hand? Is he insisting on shuffling it away at some point?
Okay. Draw all your cards. All of them. Okay. And Assumpta is good.
이렇게 똥게임으로 되나?
And now the question remains whether he's going to sacrifice his City of Traders or not. And I don't think he is. He is.
Yeah, okay.
나 죽었다. 하세요.
So he had placed the polluted delta back on top of his library and misses a land drop for the turn because of it. It seems a little interesting to me. I don't know what he was holding in his hand. Okay.
아 형 이거 무조건 억울하잖아요.
All right.
그래서 폰더로 섞을 수가 없었어요.
This is kind of a silly game now. Like I said, Sangha gets ahead on mana. Well, stays like even on mana. He just needs to rip a land drop. Maybe importantly a white land or non-delta fetch. Now they will do this very Korean thing of slow rolling themselves.
아 시원. 잠깐만요. 클리너 해야 돼. 아 스파이글래스 너무 아프다.
And now they're
이게 이렇게 똥게임 되네. 야, 신나네. 여기도.
돌아버리겠네.
we going to discard phase for not both players now.
서로 똥꼬치 됐어.
The second Ivugan is like really upsetting for Junsu here.
그러니까 지금 뭐냐 상황이 어떻냐면은 준수가 스파이글래스로 저걸 불러.
And he's on cleanup again.
고통 이러고 있는 거야.
Cloud Post. So now he's going to be able to cast. Wow, nothing next turn? The Cloud Post doesn't generate enough mana? He can't even afford his Trinisphere now. I thought.
신나는 덱이네.
아 이거 UW 패치였으면 되는 건데.
이제 저거네. 이제 땀을
But the Grim Monolith is fine, right? Yeah, easy.
오케이.
Can the Grim Monolith pay for? Yeah, it pays for a 3-ball.
오케이.
This is. Oh. Talking about Rips Underground Sea.
트리니스피어.
We don't know. I would.
This is nutty. He has another Spyglass, so
아 미친. 아 미치겠다. 하세요.
he doesn't cast it. Sangha now has Force of Will up.
신나네.
Looks like Junsu's holding Walking Ballista.
아.
Draws an Ugin. He just really wants to rip like post. I think quite a few players in the room at this point were really enjoying this game. Junsu is also getting up to clean up pretty closely here. Next turn. He's holding all his dust again. Flooded Strand. So now he has access to white mana that frees him up for 2 more mana if he chooses to destroy a Spyglass. Little does he know, Junsu is still holding a Spyglass.
여기도 똥게임 짠다.
왜 여기는?
그래도 UW 패치도.
And I think he should go ahead and slam Spyglass here instead of going to discard.
역시 랜드 조사. 아니 저 나는 왜 이렇게 안 돼? 랜드 짱
Sangha goes ahead and plays Disenchant on Spyglass.
컷 하신 거죠? 아 이제는 너무 나오잖아. 형. 세상.
And then just starts grabbing whatever lands he sees
적금 일시불.
as he looks through his deck.
진짜 적금 일시불이다.
Some interesting play patterns there. I don't know about. I don't know. So he's now deploying his hand
아, 댕이 비벼주는 줄 알았는데.
as quickly as he can, and see he's got another post. He's access to 5 Eldrazi mana. Next turn he can all his dust. but after all this time, there's no way that Sangha doesn't have Force plus blue card. We know he has at least Force. So I'm of the opinion that All Is Dust is not going to resolve. However, All Is Dust followed by Ugin could resolve. And now, do we just cast Spyglass, naming Sword of Fire and Ice? He sees there is blue card there. And Sangha astutely knows that he can't just force that just because it's inconvenient. He needs to keep force up for something that's actually going to kill him. And as Junsu begins to get above the 5, 6, 7 mana mark now, next turn he has, like, if he just rips like Glimmer Post off the top, then all of a sudden you're facing down every Eldrazi that's in his hand, and then soon the Eye of Ugin just getting activated.
너무 재밌어가지고 대짜야 되는데 대짜로 갈 수가 없네.
Has to leave 3 mana up at all times. Continues leaving 3 mana up.
17점이시죠? 네, 하세요.
Gets the sword ready for next turn. That's quite good. Junsu rips Ancient Tomb, giving him access to 2, 4, 6, 7 mana or 9 Eldrazi mana. Is that right?
4만원.
한수놀이.
Junsu knows that whatever he casts this turn is getting forced. What about an Eldrazi with some big old cast triggers? Is that what we got? Ugin or All Is Dust are being forced. And he's going to get hit by a sword on the true name. I mean, it's not lights out. It's bad, but it's not lights out. And then hopefully next turn, whatever he casts resolves. So he's thinking about what to lead with. Yeah. Pays 3 mana and 1 life and a card for sword. Or for force.
아이 오브 긴.
아, 5만원구나. 오케이, 오케이.
He can equip sword. Boop. Now true name is going to get in for 5 and then shoot him for 2 and then draw a card. And now, as Junsu here, make sure that Baleful Strix was removed to the Force of Will. I didn't see it, but I would definitely need to be looking at that if I was his opponent. Now with access to what we refer to as a butt ton of mana, this looks like he could pull this out. This was a very, very swingy game. Wonder if he's just going to go for Thought Knot. It's the little stuff. Thought Knot, target you. Oh. That was very heads up from Junsu to suss out the fact that, I mean, he was drawing cards. They were probably forces. I was of the impression that he was probably defenses down.
No, his first force was Ponder, so maybe he didn't remember yet. Usually I have a little edge there, you know?
This is tough. The true name is, well, the clock is the same still.
Okay.
It's going to be 2 turns. And the Ratchet Bomb is too slow here. That is way too slow.
형도 이거 했어.
He refuses to cast the 3 mana sword. Doesn't care about it. True name will get in for 5, then 2. And he's sitting so pretty I can't imagine that there's anything he feels he has to do. This was... Okay, so that sword was extremely important. Oh, and a scoop. That's so close. The beginning of the game was just really, really rocky. And look at these untapped monoliths that never got... good game.